wanted to have a title that related to the good majority of the themes that are on the album, which are mostly medical themes, you know, sickness and death and rebirth and having to be restrained in a bed with an IV in your arm and being sick all the time. You know, I for some reason see a connection between death and life and being sick all the time, and I'm just kind of obsessed with it, so I had to get it out of my system.
Welcome to the third and final video in the series about Kurt Cobain's guitars. In this video, we'll take a deep dive into the guitars that Kurt used on Nirvana's final studio masterpiece, In Utero, as well as on the tour that would end up being their last. If you haven't checked out the two previous parts of the series, be sure to do that, as some of the guitars mentioned in this video have already been discussed in much greater detail in those. Enjoy! At the top of our list is a rather unique guitar. Kurt received the Univox High Flyer Custom from his guitar technician, Ernie Bailey, on October 3, 1992 at Carver Gymnasium in Bellingham. Kurt was presented with the guitar backstage, just before the show, and he decided to use it during the performance that same evening. In case you haven't seen the Bleach Guitars video, the Univox High Flyer is likely the first electric guitar that Kurt ever owned. So it makes sense that Ernie would choose this exact model as a present for Kurt. Bailey also chose the modifications for this guitar based on what he already knew Kurt liked. He installed a pair of Seymour Duncan pickups in it, a JB at the bridge, and a 59 on the neck, and he fitted the guitar with an Ibanez Gibraltar bridge. Given the period in which this guitar was used, it is possible that Kurt recorded some of the stuff from In Utero on it. However, there are no photos available from those studio sessions, so this is for the most part just a guess. As far as using the guitar for live performances, Kurt had it with him for a few gigs. He did in Argentina in October 1992, and then picked it up again in 1993, and used it during the band's second Saturday Night Live appearance on September 25th. However, that was the last time the guitar was ever seen. While we're talking about unusual guitars, this was probably among the most unusual ones in Kurt's collection. He acquired it sometime in 1993, and he was never seen using it, but based on a few reliable sources, he did indeed own it. One of those sources is an old Kurt Cobain fan page on GeoCities, which seems to be the origin of most information from the better-known kurtsequipment.com website. According to this page, the guitar was a left-handed Ibanez Les Paul custom copy with a cherry sunburst finish. It had DiMarzio X2N pickups, two coil tap mini switches, a black pickguard and pickup rings, and either black or gold speed knobs. Also, based on the information from the same website, Kurt wouldn't play it live because he said he looked too much like Jimmy Page with it. The second source is the photos taken at a secret vault somewhere in Seattle, which apparently stores a lot of Kurt's private possessions. Beyond doubt, this is the same guitar that is described on the GeoCities website. We see the DiMarzio X2N pickup in the bridge, cherry sunburst finish, flame top, and a custom switch. The only differences are the white pickup rings and the single coil pickup in the neck, which could have been simply swapped at some point. We also can see that this was most likely a late 70s or later model. This is because, up until the mid-70s, Ibanez used the same headstock shape and inlays as did Gibson on their guitars. This resulted in a lawsuit, and both the shape and the inlays were changed on Ibanez guitars starting in late 1976. Kurt's guitar clearly features this redesign. This guitar made its debut on July 23, 1993 at Rosslyn Ballroom in New York City. Back then, it looked pretty standard, sporting a Fiesta red finish and a red tortoiseshell pickguard with two white pickups, one of them being a Seymour Duncan JB Jr. But the important part to note here is that this guitar was one of the 4 Fender Mustangs that Kurt got specially for the In Utero tour, the other 3 all rocking a blue color. The Oranj-Stang, as it was nicknamed, and one of its blue buddies, the Sky-Stang 1, were the first 2 delivered to Kurt, which was sometime in early July 1993. Later in October of that year, 2 more blue Mustangs, aka the Sky-Stang 2 and 3, joined the gang. Then in February 1994, 2 more red ones showed up. But Kurt never really played them, so we'll not focus on those. All, in total, there were 10 of these Mustangs. However, only these 6 that we mentioned arrived before Kurt left us in April 1994. Sometime between July and October, the guitar went through some serious upgrades. The body got a makeover in order to fit a full-sized humbucker in the bridge position, and Kurt went with the Seymour Duncan JB. Also, the Mustang was fitted with a new white perloid pickguard, a black neck pickup, and the original bridge piece was replaced with a Goto Tune-O-Matic. Kurt used this guitar here and there during the In Utero tour in 93 and 94, but he definitely favored a second blue Fender Mustang more. The Oranj-Stang made its final appearance on February 24, 1994 in Milan, Italy. What happened to it after Kurt's passing is a bit of a mystery, but it's most likely kept in the same secret vault that we mentioned earlier. This is the guitar that Kurt famously used in the heart-shaped box music video. It is presumably the only Phase 4 Univox that he ever owned, and likely the last one that he ever acquired. According to Anton Corbin, a Dutch photographer and video director, the heart-shaped box video was shot sometime in September 1993. So, chronologically looking, that was the first time this guitar was ever seen. The only other time Kurt was seen with it was on October 21, 1993 at Kansas City Memorial Hall. Apart from this, unfortunately, not much is known about this guitar. As already noted, this guitar was one of the 4 Fender Mustangs that Kurt acquired sometime before the In Utero tour. It was first seen in the photographs taken on October 23, 1993 at Chicago's Aragon Ballroom, and based on the frequency of use, this was likely Kurt's favorite among the 4. On the earliest photos of the guitar, the Mustang seemed to already have been modified in the same way as the red Mustang, with a white Seymour Duncan JB humbucker pickup sitting in the bridge pocket instead of the original single coil, and with a Tune-O-Matic bridge. From the time it was first seen, this guitar was used in nearly all of Nirvana's performances until their last gig on March 1, 1994 in Munich, Germany. After Kurt's death, the guitar ended up with his brother, Chad Cobain, who had it on loan to Seattle's Mopop Museum since 2007. Just recently, he decided to part ways with the guitar, and he put it up for sale at Julian's Live, where it sold for $1.5 million. The auction house published a great video with both Ernie and Chad sharing stories about the guitar, which will be linked in the description below. Sometime around early 1993, Kurt came up with an idea to make his own guitar. Based on the photographs published in journals, Kurt seemed to have figured out the shape of the body quite quickly, but struggled somewhat with the headstock, eventually settling with a standard Fender shape. To create the body shape, he took Polaroid pictures of a Mustang and a Jaguar. He then cut the pictures in such a way that the lower part of the body was from the Jaguar, while the upper and lower horns were from the Mustang. Based on a quote from Larry Brooks, a Fender custom shop master builder who worked on the guitar, Fender sent out a prototype to Kurt, which he used for a while, before sending it back with a request to change some of the stuff. As far as specs, the final prototype that Kurt used featured a light blue finish on an alder body and a 24-inch scale maple neck with a rosewood fretboard. The neck pickup was a single-coil Fender Texas Special, while the humbucker bridge that was originally shipped with the guitar was a DiMarzio H8. According to Ernie Bailey, he replaced the DiMarzio with a Seymour Duncan JB on November 18th, which was the day of the MTV Unplugged gig. And that's basically when Kurt started playing the guitar more regularly. Sky-Stang 2, as the name suggests, was the second of the 3 blue Mustangs, this one being delivered to Kurt sometime in October 1993. Like the first guitar, the Sky-Stang 2 was fitted with a humbucker in the bridge position, this time a black-colored Seymour Duncan JB, and with a Goto Tune-O-Matic bridge. Although Kurt mostly used his first blue Mustang, this guitar too was seen occasionally during the latter part of the In Utero tour. For example, Kurt was seen playing it at the Great Western Forum, at the Oakland County Coliseum Arena, and during the Live on Tunnel show filmed in Rome, Italy. Today, the guitar is kept in a secret vault in Seattle alongside many of Kurt's stuff. It was also seen briefly during Fender's promo video made just before they released the Fender Kurt Cobain signature Mustang, which was largely based on this guitar. Take note of the small yellow-colored patch underneath the bridge pickup, as this is one of the ways to separate this guitar from its twin, the Sky-Stang 3. This is the third and last of the custom Mustangs that Kurt received for the In Utero tour. The guitar was set up in the same way as the others, with a black Seymour Duncan JB pickup and a Goto 2 pneumatic bridge. It is very hard to determine whether this guitar was ever used live because it looks nearly identical to the Sky-Stang 2. The only visual difference between the two guitars seems to be the pattern on the tortoiseshell pickguard. This guitar had a small orange blotch between the pickups, while the Sky-Stang 2 had a similar looking blotch below the bridge pickup. And while the Sky-Stang 2 can be spotted in the photographs taken during the In Utero tour, that doesn't seem to be the case with this guitar. It's also worth noting that the story of this guitar becomes somewhat confusing after Kurt's death. Courtney Love ended up giving it to a young man named Bobby Costello, who had written a letter to her expressing his admiration for Kurt's music and how much it had impacted him, to which Courtney responded by sending him what she referred to as one of Kurt's favorite guitars. However, according to a Facebook post made by Bobby some years ago, the guitar was sold at some point without his permission. It seems that the next owner was Jeff Gold of Record Mecca, who often seems to have lent it to Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Museum, where many have photographed it. It seems, however, that the guitar was sold once again, as Record Mecca has the item marked as sold on their website. Kurt allegedly received this guitar from Fender in 1994 as a replacement for his light blue Telecaster, which we mentioned in our Nevermind video. He never used the guitar live and received it fully customized by Ernie Bailey only 2 weeks before his death. As far as the mods, the original tuners were replaced with Gotos, and the bridge was replaced with a Stu-Mac with individual saddles. Both of the stock pickups were also replaced, the neck with a Gibson PAF, and the bridge with a Seymour Duncan JB. Sometime after Kurt's death, this guitar was sold to a private buyer. At some point, it was owned by RockstarGuitar.com, which is where most of the information about it comes from. It was then sold once again, but unfortunately, the current whereabouts are unknown. And with this Telecaster, we have come to the conclusion of the 3-part series about Kurt Cobain's guitars. Hopefully these videos were informative and entertaining for you. If you like them, please show your support by giving them a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel, as more content like this is coming your way soon. Thanks for watching.